about the Play Parks project, they're welcome to attend the next committee meeting. Any other councillor wish to speak?
Mr. Chair, Councillor, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't agree. I think Councillor Lewis is quite entitled to make the comments that he has, but we'll let that pass for the moment. It's just really a question. I missed the third name, Mr. Mayor. Who's the third person you're proposing?
Councillor Stapleton.
Thank you.
Perhaps I should say, Mr. Chairman, that I'm relieved and totally in favour of the three councillors who have been named being in charge of trying to sort out the remedial works and possible claims for compensation, which might be made against the council by people who have been affected by these problems, which might fall to be indemnified by the council's insurers.
Okay, well, thank you for that additional comment from Councillor Lewis. Does any other councillor wish to speak before we move to a vote? So Councillor Leach has joined the meeting.
Just to let you know, I've had trouble getting in tonight on the computer. My computer's playing up, so I am here. I've missed quite a bit, so I do apologise.
Thank you very much for joining us. Any other councillor wish to speak on item 3 before we move to the vote in favour of the recommendations?
Councillor Moskwa, that's
Councillor
all right.
Moskwa?
I agree with Councillor Lewis. I mean, it is a bit of an embarrassment, and you would not expect the kind of level of problems we've had. Obviously, the ones that we had initially, we leveraged to our advantage with some free stuff, which is always nice. But I've been reading up on this recycled matting, and I can't see anywhere in its design spec that it's designed to start shedding whatever that carbon black is, and potentially any other volatile organic chemicals coming out of it. So I think their lack of response is, well, it says a lot, really.
Thank you very much. Then we move to the vote now. Then, please, Clark, can we have go through the names? Excuse me, please sneeze.
Okay. Yeah. So in favour of the Orchard Park paper to progress the items named, with councillors' delegated responsibility of councillors Williams, Moskwa and Stapleton. Councillor Best, are you in favour?
That was a yes.
Right, thank you. Councillor Bird?
Yes.
Councillor Leach?
Yes, with apologies that I'm not actually sure what it is, but I'm willing to go along.
Okay. Councillor Lewis?
Yes, I'm in favour.
Councillor Money?
Yes, in favour.
Councillor Moskwa?
Yes. Am I okay to vote on this as I declared an interest?
Oh, my apologies.
I think probably not for.
Apologies.
But I'm for it, and thanks for the support so far.
Yeah. Councillor Purdue-Haran?
Yes.
Councillor Shelton? For. Councillor Sims isn't here. Councillor Stapleton?
Yeah, yes.
Councillor John Stockwood?
For.
Councillor Maureen Stockwood?
For.
Councillor Wallace?
For.
Councillor Williams?
For.
Thank you, that's carried.
Thanks.
Thanks very much. We now move on to item 4. Wychwood Road, to note the concerns raised by the contractor, to consider a contingency budget, to agree delegate authority to progress the completion of the play park, and to agree the permanent siting of the Rock Snake. Councillors all had the Appendix B that sets out the matter before you. The 3 councillors put forward would be the Chair of Committee, Councillor Williams, the Vice Chair, Councillor Moskwa, and Councillor Stapleton again. So I'm happy to move that to start the debate. Councillor Williams wants to speak first. Is recreation amenities And then I can again ask if there are any residents who wish to speak on this matter. But we'll proceed along the lines of this is now the debate on item number 4. Councillor Williams first to speak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's been highlighted from our contractor that should we have, if there's any unforeseen circumstances with regards to the project, that we can't react quickly as a council in order to keep the project on course. Mainly often with the contract is going to be the question of funds. Hopefully we wouldn't need to use the contingency budget as outlined in 4B, but should an event arise, we do have that, the 3 councillors do have that delegated authority to react, which if we don't have this in place, then it would mean a possible delay in the project, and then short notice for council meetings. My view is if we don't have this in place, then we're gonna need it. If we do have it in place, then we're not going to need it, kind of situation. Thank you. Did you want me to talk on 4D as well?
Yeah, we'll take the matters for, they all relate to the play park in my view. Yeah. So yes. Okay. Yeah,
that's fine. With regards to the rock snake, it's grown on the edge of Wychwood Road, opposite Langdale Grove turning junction, and it came out of the vision of one mum and her daughter during the lockdown. It has now grown to, on last count, 540 rocks or stones. People from all over the town have painted and added their rocks to this real community monument during the pandemic. I would strongly support in getting this rock snake made a permanent feature on Wychwood Road. Some towns around the country have done something similar, which are gone from like one side of the town to the other, and have proven to be really popular within their location. This monument would mean younger generations of the town would be able to go back there and say that I painted that one, and it would form a great focal point to remember all the difficult times that this town has gone through, and all the testing times that this town has gone through and has been faced during the pandemic. Hopefully we'd then be able to look back at these rocks and bring a smile to our faces due to their colourful and artistic nature. The responses to the COVID-19 Facebook page on Facebook are testament to the support and joy that the rock snake brings to the people of Bingham. Thank you.
Okay. And hope all councillors can support that. First of all, we did say I'd ask now if there are any residents or guests who are with us this evening if they wish to speak, and I'll ask councillors if they can suspend standing orders to allow them to speak. Do we have any resident who wishes to speak on this item? I can't see anybody indicating. Instead, I've got councillors wishing to speak, so we'll continue the councillor debate. Councillor Lewis is the first person is indicated he wishes to speak.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There was a piece of correspondence received, which is with my papers, from somebody called Stefan White, who says that without permission, we have made it, presumably the project, under 12's change of use, which means that he will suffer teenage problems. I'm afraid that I don't really understand how I thought the project was always going to be for under 12s, and I can't see how including under 12s would cause anybody to suffer teenage problems, because teenagers are by definition over 12. And he says that planning permission for a change of use wasn't sought, and he wants us to start work on the project immediately. Now, I must confess I'm a newcomer to planning law and procedure. I have attended a seminar on this, but it seems to me that making your play park suitable for a particular age group doesn't constitute a change of use. So I don't know what people want to do about this, whether the clerk should be replying to Mr. White. But as far as I can see, I personally don't understand what his complaint is. And I certainly don't think that what we're doing constitutes a change of use, which would require further planning consent.
Okay, so point of information is that that piece of correspondence is not a part of this evening's debate. The piece of correspondence has been, the issues raised have been, advice has been sought from Rushcliffe Borough Council to address the issue regarding the issues that have been raised. I understand the resident will receive a direct response from the council explaining this, that change of use planning permission is not required. I recognise that all members of the community are concerned about antisocial behaviour near their properties. And perhaps one of the things moving forward, that in addition to the tendered works, we can make sure that we have the council's standard rules for proper use of play areas, a little bit of a sign on that play area as well. Now that if you have a contingency budget, you can you've got the ability to do that. Moving forward with tonight's agenda, the items 4A, B, C, and D are put before you. Councillor Moss is next to speak, and then Councillor Mrs. Stockwood.
Thanks very much. I just wanted to clarify the point on contingency budget, given how the contractor initially approached this change in scope, but not on our part, which is to ask us for just shy of £2,000 for some additional rubble that needed to be purchased to level the land so it would drain effectively. Town clerk went back through and looked at the tender, and we responded quite robustly and respectfully, and they themselves have looked at the tender and agreed that as you've probably all read, actually they're going to just swallow the cost. So I do see more of this coming, because they held the price for 2 years and it was already a competitive price. So they're probably looking for ways to make up their margins. So I wanted to clarify the request for a contingency budget. From my perspective is, if we want to change any of the scope, such as, for example, adding a sign that we didn't think of before. This is not a slush fund to deal with contractors whom, when we're reliant on their expertise and they give us a price for a job, decide that they didn't price it correctly. So I thought it was probably just worth clarifying that it's not a contractor slush fund. It's for if we wish to change something.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mrs. Stockwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine's on the item D, the rock snake. This is a great community item. I think everybody's in agreement with that. And I just wanted to ask if they are weatherproof. I mean, we've had some testing weather lately. Unless they're all weatherproof, I'm frightened some of the paint might wear off.
I don't believe that each stone, or point of information, I don't believe each stone has been investigated individually, but I hope that the solution moving forward provides a permanent monument that will take into account. Councillor Williams, perhaps provide a point of information regarding that, and then we'll move on to next speakers.
Yes, it is a point of information on that. I have been to the site with the town clerk, an initial chat with one of the groundsmen to see about the options that could be done there. But as Councillor Moyne-Stockwood stated, all the rocks are painted differently because they're all painted differently by different people. So some of them have got like a PVA glue type finish over the top, and some of them are just kind of bare. So whatever happens, it would be sort research done in case we could get some kind of covering or sealant over the top in order to protect the artwork, but then for us not damaging that artwork with a chemical reaction or anything to then make them last longer. So hopefully that will be part of the project that will be looked into. Thank you.
Right. Clark put up a hand and put the hand down, so I'll move on to the next person with a hand up, and that's Councillor Leach.
Hello, yeah. Mr. Mayor, hello everyone. I'd like to support this as well as Maureen is. I think it is a brilliant asset, along with quite a few other things to our town, which is growing very much in size. But I do notice that a few people and their youngsters have been upset because when it first started getting done, people, whoever it was taking the rocks away. It was requested that those rocks were put back because they were done specially for this. And it's just so sad that some people have to spoil something that's giving pleasure to a lot of kids. That's all I want to say.
Okay, I think councillors agree with you that we support what's the community effort on this, and that you know, it's not the council removing individual stones. Perhaps that's a misunderstanding by somebody within the community about the nature of the rocks. No further speakers indicating they wish to speak on this item, so can we move to the vote, please, on this item?
Yes, we can. So those in favour of the Wychwood Road appendices, with the delegated councillors being Councillor Williams, Moscow and Stapleton. Councillor Best, are you in favour?
Sorry, Jack. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Best would like to have added something to the debate first.
I apologise for moving on to the vote before all councillors had the opportunity to speak. Well, Councillor Best, wish to speak? You're going to hold her up to the...
No, Jane. Hold on a second. Hold on, Jack. I think the mayor is happy for you to speak. Absolutely. If I can just clarify from the mayor that he's happy.
Absolutely.
Yes, the mayor is indicating that he wants you to make a contribution. Okay. So can you shout, because you're very low on this particular phone? Okay.
Only a water tank, so therefore it has been washed off. Has anybody stood and counted them all in the first place? I have been dislodged, but knowing men have made a wonderful job by not disturbing too much, and just look at pictures, but unfortunately some stones are bare now because we've just added before me. The paint was only water paint. It's only something the kiddies have got in their place, desk, whatever they have. So it's bound to drop off. Sorry about that. But there must be over 300 if nobody interferes with them.
Right, thank Councillor Best for her contribution. She's asking about the number of stones. We understand there are over 500. 500, and yes, it is a sad situation that some stones have been painted with water-based paints that have been lost to us already, and that's why extraordinary meeting to have this particular action and we start moving forward with preserving this project is a positive thing, and we all support, or you have a chance to vote on whether or not you support the recommendation that we preserve the project permanently to the best of our ability. We now move to the vote then.
Okay. So in terms of the Wychwood Road report, with the delegated councillors as Councillor Williams, Moscow and Stapleton. Councillor Best, are you in favour?
Okay. So
it's muted.
I think Councillor Purdue-Horan's actually frozen.
That's a yes.
That's a yes. Okay, sorry.
Councillor Bird?
Yes.
Councillor Leach?
Yes.
Councillor Lewis?
Yes.
Councillor Money?
Yes.
Bypassing Councillor Moscow this time. Councillor Purdue-Horan?
You muted,
Francis, you're muted. Councillor Purdue-Horan, you're muted. Are you voting?
Seem to have lost him.
My screen's. Hello.
Hello. You're to vote in. You're voting in favour whether a for or against item 4.
Councillor Best has said yes.
And you, Councillor Purdue-Horan?
Laurel and Hardy.
Yes.
Yes. Next person.
Councillor Shelton?
For.
Councillor Stapleton?
Yeah, 4.
Councillor John Stockwood?
4.
Councillor Maureen Stockwood?
4.
Councillor Wallace?
4.
Councillor Williams?
4.
Thank you.
Right, thank you
It's
very much.
not only my computer that plays silly buggers then.
Of course. That completes this extraordinary council meeting. Thank you very much for coming this evening. I apologise for the number of extraordinary council meetings, but hopefully now that we've delegated some ability for councillors to move forward with action on those particular issues, we can see some positive progress on addressing some of the issues at those sites. Thank you very much. 7:03, I close this meeting. Members of the Community and Environment Committee, there may be a brief pause as we now all move to, members of the committee now move to the committee meeting. Thank you very much once again. Good night to those of us who are leaving.
Good evening.
Thank you.
See you all later.
Thank you very much, Councillor Money.
Good night.